It's a quiet start because we weren't quite sure what was going to happen with the weather. There was a real fear, actually, that qualifying might not happen here earlier on this morning and that we'd have to form the grid using the times from the collective test that we saw on Friday, which they have ahead of every one of these Formula Renault Eurocup races. 2-litre cars, everybody with identical machinery, and it really has been a very close-run thing so far this season. Thankfully, though, the weather was good. They did have their half-hour session this morning, and it was this man, Robert Schwartzman, setting record pace in car number 10, the 18-year-old from Russia with the R-Race GP team. And here's his teammate right alongside him, one of his teammates at least, Will Palmer, grid position 2 and critically championship position 2 as well. He is 52.5 points behind the championship leader, Sacha Fenestraz of France. What will Palmer, who is the son of Jonathan Palmer and younger brother of Jolyon Palmer, racing in Formula 1 until earlier this season, be able to do about Fenestraz? Here he is, third on the grid, the championship leader, 52.5 points ahead of Palmer, which is a very handy advantage indeed. Number 4 is Gabriel Aubry. Now, he is very, very good off the line, and he could be one to watch, actually. I was told by somebody I very much trust down in the paddock this morning, the Tech 1 Racing driver. Let's see whether Aubry will be able to get in the mix. But what's going to be very interesting is to see how the two teammates off the front row can play around a little bit with the race. Palmer has to win the race. That's pretty much how it goes. There's other Brits around as well. Here's Max Fucci with Tech 1 Racing. He's lining up 5th on the grid in car number 7. So let's take a look at the full grid ahead of what is the 21st race of the season out of 23. It's Schwartzman with the advantage. He's lining up on pole position once again. He certainly has been there already earlier on this season. This is his 6th pole now and his 9th front row start. It's a 5th front row for Will Palmer. Then it's the championship leader, Fenestraz, from Aubry 4th. Watch out for him. Future we just saw with Max Deforny, who's a real overtaker. Remember him earlier on in the season in Monte Carlo, going around the outside as they got up to Massenet. Watch out for him off the line. He's lightning quick. Malaysia's looking good here. Logan Sargent, the American, row 5. Then you've got Neil Vernigan, another one of the Americans, and Richard Verschoor, who is a Dutch driver. Vajarten is 11th from Enrique Chaves, the Portuguese driver. Then it's Randall and Ticknam locked together on row 7. First of the Chinese drivers, the two of them in the field. It's Yi 15th from Epmer, the Dutch rider. Guzman there, driver from Mexico, and Zane Goddard, the Australian, one of the Arden cars, completing that row of the grid in 18th position. Alex Peroni, very Italian-inspired surname, but he's actually an Australian driver. Corneve is 20th on the grid. Then it's Matus, Thomas Maxwell, Lewis Leeds from Australia, and Lloveras, Xavi Lloveras with the Adrian Valles run car, one of the Spaniards. And just look how big this grid is. 30 of them in all, with Presley Martona, the Indonesian driver, completing the field. Here we go then. Stand by for action at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. It's a big, big field here. 32 of them in all. And although it is a long start-finish straight, 1 kilometre, 0.65 of a mile, they get there very quickly indeed to the tight right-hander at turn 1. To remind you of the championship situation, as these guys look for the best vantage point, they're actually looking from the top of the grandstand over at La Caixa corner, which is turn 10, just off to the left-hand side of our picture at the top of that grass bank. They're looking over the top of the stand, of course, for the start, and then they'll turn around as lap 1 continues to look into what is known as the stadium section. And away we move then. The lap split up into 3 sectors. Sector 2 is particularly difficult, though, for overtaking. Warm-up lap is underway. So far this morning, they've had a half-hour qualifying session and then gone out on their sighting laps from the pit lane. I was watching down from the commentary box window, actually. We have a brilliant vantage point here from the top of the main grandstand. Some of the drivers did elect to come back in off their initial reconnaissance lap and go back round for another one just to assess the track conditions. Others, I'd say it was about a 50-50 split, went straight round to form up on the grid. And these now, the last few moments as we get away. But watch out for that car there. That's Sacha Fenestraz with the green flashes down the side of the car. There he is, 3rd on the grid. The French driver who has this comfortable championship lead of 52.5 points. He's coming from 3rd on the grid. And there's all sorts of permutations. We won't get into too many difficulties because I'll just confuse myself as well as everyone else. But if Fenestraz is ahead of Will Palmer today, pretty much in any position, he will wrap up the Formula Renault 2-litre Eurocup title of 2017. There's a few other trickier permutations, but then any position he finishes in from 4th down to 8th, as long as he's got Palmer just one position in front of him, it would still be the title for Finastras. So basically Palmer needs other things to happen. Even if Finastras fails to finish the race, Palmer would still need to be 9th or higher by the end of the distance. Don't forget, it's 25 minutes and 1 lap. Point system is exactly the same as the point system we've seen in Formula 1, which was introduced back in 2010. Their top 10 scoring system. It's 25 for the win, 18 for second, so critically 7 points between first and second, 15, 12 and 10, 8, 6, 4, 2 and 1 solitary point down to that 10th place. Car 16 there, that's Thomas Randall, the 21-year-old Australian. A few Australians in the field. It is fantastic to see that we have a real mix here in the field. Formula Renault, well, it's an amazing stat, but more than 60% of the current Formula 1 field have raced in a Formula Renault championship somewhere around the world for at least one season on their way up to the top. So it really is a great scholarship, and it was Lando Norris who won this particular title, the Eurocup in 2016. He says it's a great, perfect step between Formula 4 and Formula 3. And Norris has gone on to do great things, having picked up the Autosport BRDC Young Driver of the Year award at the end of last year. And even the drivers who haven't made it to F1, they've done World Endurance Championship, even rallying over the years as well. This is an easy car to spot, the pink livery there of Axel Matus, the 19-year-old Mexican in car 15. And look at the size of this grid, 32 of them. There was a bit of an investigation, I can tell you, after qualifying earlier on. A few little things went on in the qualifying session, but no action was taken, thankfully. I was hoping there wouldn't be action taken because Palmer was one of the drivers involved in some of those incidents earlier on in qualifying. We didn't want the grid to be reshuffled. It certainly wasn't. Only female rider in the field here, female driver Julia Pankiewicz, the 18-year-old from Poland. She positions the car towards the back of the field. Now, what are these two teammates going to do off the front row of the grid? It's 10 and it is 8. Here come the lights then, and away we go for the first race of the weekend. Race 1 of 3 in the Formula Renault Eurocup finale of 2017. 25 minutes and 1 lap, and we need to keep a close eye on Finastras, who is the championship leader. He's in the number 11 car on the right-hand side with the green flashes. It's all clean so far. Schwartzman holds the advantage from pole position. This is that tricky turn 1 section. It's right and it is left, and everybody is cleanly through so far. I spoke too soon. One of the Red Bull cars on the grass. He's almost collected somebody else as he rejoins. That was very close indeed, but they've managed to keep it all together somehow. I remember there was a huge incident there on the first lap of the F1 race back in 2009, and both of the Toro Rossos, amongst others, were wiped out. But the order so far, as you can see coming towards us down into the left-hander of turn 5 for the first time, the pole sitter Schwartzman is still leading. And look at the Red Bull car again, very much involved on this first lap of the race. Well, they're all over the place. They're going to know the gravel traps better than the track if it carries on like this. More people clipping the grass on that kink down through turn 6. This is 7 for the first time, side by side, all the way back to the back of the field. But this is what we were saying earlier on. The tyres are reaching their peak for around the second lap of the race here with these temperatures and these conditions. Might be a little bit longer than lap 2 today. It's a little bit cooler today, but even so, the tyres are hitting their peak very early on in the race. It's difficult to pass here at Montmello, and that's why everybody's absolutely got the hammer down so early on in this race. We're all clean so far, apart from one just running wide in the background, and there's a contact, 2 of them banging wheels coming out of La Caixa in the background. Well, no one's great surprise really. Did we really expect 32 of them, as good as they are, to get round cleanly on this first lap? Most of them have, with Nubar, as you can see on the graphics at the bottom, and we'll keep updating you with the positions at the back around the end of this first lap. Schwartzman then has the advantage. Look at that, it's almost a second over Palmer already. Aubrey, I said watch him off the line, but he did jump Finastras, and he's up into 3rd. 5th is Futrell, and Max is the leading rookie driver, and there are 3. Oh, and a lock-up towards the front. Now this is where they've got to be careful, because this is Aubrey now piling the pressure on Will Palmer. What is Palmer going to do? Palmer, son of Jonathan Palmer, former British F3 and European Formula 2 champion in its original championship, guys, back in 1983. And Will is the... Oh, and another lock-up. The championship leader's in there as well, Finastras, who is in that 4th position. Sergio Finastras, watch out for him. There he is. Green front wing, green rear wing as well. He's very easy to spot. There's your order. Schwartzman with the advantage from the pole. Palmer's held his 2nd place. Aubrey 3rd. Finastras is 4th, and he's just playing it sensibly at the moment. But will the title go on to the 2 races of tomorrow? Futrell is still in 5th. Deforny 6th. Verschoor is 7th. Then it's Verhagen, Sargent, the American, and Charles Milesi is in that 10th place. And look at this side-by-side stuff. That's Deforny on the outside, fighting away with Max Futrell. They're fighting there over 5th position, and make that 6th and 7th, because there's 3 of them joining the party now, coming towards us down into Lacaisha, all the way around the outside. These Red Bull drivers really getting stuck in, but there's contact. Deforny says thanks very much, back in front of both of them. That could have been rather nasty down into Lacaisha, but it's good how the track flicks back to the other way there, and it does favour sometimes the driver who hangs it out around the outside to be able to duck back up the inside of the right-hander of turn 12, the Bank Sabadell corner as it used to be known. Through the chicane, plenty of talk about the end of the lap here at Catalonia earlier this year, with MotoGP making some changes and then reverting in the end to the Formula 1 chicane. It used to be that rapid couple of right-handers down into the last corner, and that chicane was added for 2007. It was supposed to spice up the racing. Some say it's worked, others have not. Look at the background. Why use the racetrack when you can use the grass? We've seen it on every lap of the race so far. Wow, that could have been very nasty indeed. That was very similar, wasn't it, to what happened at the Hungaroring with Barrichello and Michael Schumacher 7 years ago. It wasn't quite as close a call on this occasion as it was back in 2010 in Hungary, but look at them. All over the place. That's car number 7, but the looks of things running out wide this time. It's Max Futrell himself in car number 7. We were talking about him a moment ago, the Tech 1 racing car of the 18-year-old rookie driver, and he's losing a lot of championship points there. Don't forget, you've got to be in the top 10 to score championship points. This is the left-hander of turn 5, then down through the left-hand kink of 6 and heavy braking zone of 7 and 8. This is the moment of the race where they start to just settle down now. 31 comes towards us. It's Neil Verhagen, the 16-year-old from America. And look how tight this is getting at the front as well now, incidentally. I thought it was starting to settle down as Thomas Neubauer dives into the pit lane at the end of the lap. So he's obviously run into somebody, probably one of the drivers who was involved in some contact further back. He's pitted then at the end of that first lap. Hopefully they'll just be able to change the front wing and get him back out there. But Neubauer into the pits. He's the only driver who did have to pit, despite some of the other shenanigans we saw going on down throughout the field. There's the gaps down the left-hand side then. We're 2 laps into this one. Lap 3 now, and it's a 1.4 second gap from Schwartzman back to Palmer, but they are starting to close in. Just as I say that, actually Schwartzman's responded in the last sector and extended the gap. Look at that now, 1.5 seconds, and it's Palmer who's coming under pressure here. Gabriel Aubry is closing right in on him there. That's car number 4, the Tech 1 racing car, the 19-year-old Frenchman, right up behind Will Palmer. Car number 8, the R-Ace GP machine, 20 years old now, is Will Palmer. It's been a great season for Will, whatever happens, whether he comes out of here with the title or not. How many race victories for Will so far this year? 3 race victories and 9 podium finishes in total for Joe's brother, Jonathan's youngest son. Now there is the championship leader, Finastras, locking up again down into the left hand of turn 5. That is not the first time he's done that here this afternoon, and it might well not be the last time either. He's got to watch out. If he finishes in that 4th position, is it good enough for the title or is it not? Well, if Finastras is 4th, he would need Palmer to be 5th, and it's not going to happen at the moment with Palmer up in 2nd place. So as it stands, Will Palmer is doing enough to take the championship fight to the final 2 races of the season, races 22 and 23, coming up at 22:11 local time and 4 p.m. local time on Sunday afternoon. Set your watches. It's currently 20-1 here in Barcelona. What a season it has been, though, so far for Finastras. There he was coming through the shot. This is Max Deforny. Now, is he making any inroads into Finastras? The last lap times round, he certainly was, actually. Deforny was half a second quicker than Finastras last time round in those 4th and 5th positions. So as long as Aubry is backing Finastras up, we might see Deforny closing in. Well, I did say one of them had pulled into the pit lane, and here's the situation. We did see some contact look on that first lap. This is Max Futrell now into the pits. What a shame for the 18-year-old British rider. Here's a replay of the start. It looked as though Futrell's rear wing was damaged, but what happened of the start of the race? Pole sitter was away very well indeed. kept the advantage. The field away cleanly. Nobody stuck on the grid. Watch them as they come towards us now. You'll see the pole sitter moving across with that very distinguishable gold helmet. Across he comes. That's number 10. That's Schwartzman. Off that pole position, just trying to break the toe on the run down to turn 1. It left number 11 straight in front of us, championship leader. And, oh, that's where the contact happened. That was a broken front wing earlier on in the lap. And, indeed, incident involving cars 16 and 40 will be investigated after the race. That's just flashed up on the timing screen. So Thomas Randall was involved in that one. And Charles Milesi as well, the French wildcard driver, the 16-year-old, who is the youngest driver in the field, involved in that incident down into the La Caixa corner at the start of the race. Now, look at this. How's Sasha Fenestra's going to play this one? We're 4 laps in. Look how hard Max Deforny's pushing right behind him. Schwartz certainly has the advantage here, and he's pulling away now. It's a 1.9 second lead. His lap time is a 43.7, 2/10 quicker than Will Palmer last time round. So Palmer, there he is, comfortable second place. Aubrey's dropped back a little bit. He was right up with Palmer not so long ago. He's fallen back now into that 3rd place. The big question is, how many points is Fenestra's going to score? At the moment he's in that 4th position. Here's car number 4, that's Aubrey, and right behind him you can see the championship leader. 4th position would give him 12 points. If he loses the spot to Deforny and drops to 5th, Deforny in the blue and white car coming towards us at the top of the screen, that's 10 points. So this man, your championship leader, could potentially lose a couple of points if that position does change with 16 minutes to go. Remember, the last lap will be the first lap they do once the clock has ticked down to 0. Coming towards us then, 29. Here's one of the other Red Bull cars. That's Verhagen, number 31. He was lucky, actually, earlier on in the race not to be involved in a nasty incident. Now, here's another replay. This is La Caixa again. I said everybody in the grandstand would be enjoying some action into the stadium, and they certainly are. That's Presley Martono running wide. The Indonesian, he's back on, though, is the 17-year-old. That was quite tight, wasn't it? Big lock-up, though, down into La Caixa. Now, turn 3 incident involving car number 7. That's Max Futrell. Well, we know he's out of the race, and that's going to be investigated after the race. So that's something we didn't see earlier on, down into the right-hander of turn 3. That's the quick right-hander after the S-bends at the start of the lap. But look at this multiple scrap for second now. Towards us they come. Palmer, Aubrey. Fenestres is in there. Deforny. 31 is Verhagen. He's in that 7th place. Sargent is 8th, and it's Milesi who got involved in an incident earlier on with Randall, who incidentally is still right up behind him. Yifi Yi here, one of the 2 Chinese riders in the drivers in the field, 17 years old. He's with the Joseph Kaufmann Racing team. Some of the teams have elected to keep the same liveries for all of their cars. Others have mixed it up a little bit, including R-Race GP here. Schwartzman easy to spot, though, in the number 10 car with that gold crash helmet. And then right with him is teammate Will Palmer. I say right with him, but the lap times, they're pretty much static now as we come through to start the 7th. It's a 2-second lead then. It's a 2-second lead for the first time. And there's the new gap between Palmer and Aubrey at the bottom of the screen. That's 1.2 seconds. 13 is Enrique Chavez. Now, he's down in 12th place, so there could be a good scrap in a minute for the last points position. He's down in 12th. He needs a couple more places, but look at this in the meantime. How is Sasha Fenestra going to play this one? Championship leader, 52.5-point lead over Will Palmer. It will decrease, but this battle for 4th, raging now. Max Deforny right up with him. And as I said earlier on in the show, we know how much of an overtaker Max Deforny is. He grabbed a podium earlier on in the season. One of his 10 podium finishes so far, and incidentally, he's second only to the man in front of him, Fenestra, the championship leader. 4 podium finishes, but he grabbed one around the outside on the approach up Beau Rivage to Massenet at Monaco earlier on this season. Is he going to have a lunge at the championship leader? Deforny will be aware of the fact that the man in front of him, 18-year-old Sasha Fenestra from France, is the championship leader. But I suppose that's a bit of added motivation, isn't it, for Deforny? Look at him now. He can see him in the mirrors. He weaves left, he weaves right. Can he get a clean run through this section, down the kilometre-long start-finish straight, and perhaps do him down into turn 1? There's plenty of runoff down there as well, which is a bit more of an incentive, I would imagine. 4th place it is then, 11 and 9 coming towards us. Here's the rack chicane. You can see the different versions of the track off to the right-hand side. The bikes sometimes take that slightly tighter chicane to slow them down a little bit more. This is Catalunya curve. This is turn 16 and leads them into the start-finish straight. Let's see what Deforny can do then. He's right up, if he can be, under the rear wing of Sasha Finestraz. Is he going to have a go or is he not? This is a difference of 2 championship points. It could be 2 critical championship points by the end of the season tomorrow afternoon, but no change this time. He's going to have to get a better run out of the last corner if he wants to have a go. De Forny, look, 65 thousandths down. You get the feeling he probably is quicker if he can draft past, but it's easier said than done. It's Joseph Kaufmann racing the leading car. De Forny, number 9, the driver with R-Race GP, and that should not be forgotten either. Don't forget, R-Race GP is the same team Will Palmer, Sasha Finestraz's championship rival, is competing with. So can De Forny play his part here for R-Race GP and take a couple more points off Finestraz to try and take this championship through to the penultimate race and then maybe even the final race tomorrow afternoon? What a great shot this is, though. This is Robert Schwartzman in car number 10 with that golden crash helmet. Very easy to spot the Russian. Leads this one now. The gap's come down very slightly, just by a fraction there to Will Palmer. That's what 1.9 seconds looks like coming towards us. 32 gear changes a lap here in Barcelona, and there's certainly a lot in this next section here, the stadium. Seems as though Finestraz has just calmed this down a little bit now. He knows there are 2 points and he needs to bag those extra 2 points for that 4th place. He doesn't want De Forny sailing up the inside. Here's your leader. Watch him through the chicane. 14. This is 15. Those sausage curbs all too dangerous on the inside. A bit of a compromise curb, those sausage curbs. It's something that they try to compromise between bike and car racing to allow the car to skip over them, but you wouldn't want to be doing that. You'd lose too much time. And in the meantime, somebody running wide again. One of these Red Bull cars running very wide in the background. This is coming out of the Repsol hairpin at turn 4, and that was almost a touch with the barriers there for the 33 of Daniel Ticktum, the 18-year-old British rider, and Daniel just about scraping almost down the barrier and rejoins. It's dropped him a long way down the field now, though, to 24th place. That was a costly one for the rookie this season. And remember, there is a rookie's title to compete for as well. Now, the drivers who, as the leader locks up, be careful there. That was close. In fact, that was Aubrey, I think, locking up, wasn't it, into the right-hander of the Repsol hairpin, turn 4. But as I was saying, further back, the rookies are battling away for honours as well. And it was Max Futrell who was leading the rookies coming into this one from, funnily enough, Daniel Ticktum. So with both of them, Futrell out of the race and Ticktum well out of the points, it's Yi Fei now, the Chinese driver, who might be able to benefit from that one. And yes, he's in 14th place at the moment. That's not good enough, though. He needs to pick up a few more points to have any shot at the Rookies Cup title for 2017. 31 towards us. That's Neil Vernigan, the Dutch, the American driver, the 16-year-old in the Dutch team, the MP Motorsport Dutch team, down into the stadium section once again. Remember, all of these drivers, after the collective test they've had earlier on in the weekend, have just 30 minutes of qualifying earlier on today, and then straight into this opening race of the weekend. Less than 10 minutes to go now, as you can see at the top of the screen, and this is getting rather exciting, because if it stays like this, the championship fight goes on. It goes on to the penultimate race of the season on Sunday afternoon here in Barcelona. Let's regroup then. We're coming through to start the 10th lap. Schwartzman has the advantage. It's a 2-second lead over Will Palmer. Gabriel Aubrey from that good start, started 4th, grabbed a place from Sasha Finestraz, who gave them plenty of room, didn't he, the championship leader, down into turn 1. But look now, this battle for 4th really developing. Finestraz towards us. This is Max De Forny, car number 9, and Richard Verschure is right behind them. Here he is in the Red Bull machine. That's car number 29, the MP Motorsport car, 16 years old. I think Finestraz has got this comfortably at the moment, unless a mistake happens. That's the only danger. He knows that De Forny is close enough to take advantage if he makes a mistake, and we did see the championship leader locking up earlier on. Aubrey, though, with Tech 1 Racing, he's on for yet another podium finish. He's had 7 already this season. This would be an 8th. Will Palmer said yesterday in his press release, as he slides his way around the left-hander of 7, all he can do is hope, in the nicest possible way, that Finestraz hits trouble further back. But at the moment, Palmer is doing what he needs to do, which is decrease that championship lead. Palmer towards us. Here he is, car 8. This is a lap comparison then with the leader in front of him in car 10 last time round. And remember, they are teammates. They're almost matching each other like for like. Look at that, just thousandths of a second between them across the last few laps. We're on lap 10 now, and you do have to wonder whether the leader now, Schwartzman, is going in to back off and release a few extra championship points to Will Palmer, because the gap has fallen. It was 2 seconds not so long ago. It came down to 1.9, then 1.7, and as they come through to start lap 10, what is it now? 1.8, so it's gone up again. So let's see what they do later on. And look at this, side by side further back. This is tight. This is very tight indeed. 19 and 20. Well, Fortec Motorsport teammates almost touching each other. That was Frank Bird, and look at that. Razak, the Malaysian driver, in a massive lock-up behind. That was tremendous avoidance there from Lewis Leeds, who is the 17-year-old Australian driver with Joseph Kaufman Racing. That was tremendous avoidance there as he slammed the brakes on. Had to get on the stoppers, didn't he, into the left-hander of two to avoid what could have been a rather sizable incident there. Would have wiped both of them clean out of the race. Now, Palmer, very, very quick in this first sector. It's come down again to 1.7. You do have to wonder whether they're going to bring some team orders into this one. Have they discussed this pre-race? Surely they have. R-Race GP. It's a big difference though. Remember, it's 25 points for the win. It's 18 points for second place. That's an extra 7 critical championship points for Palmer if he's released through by his teammate. Each time they come through the sectors, if I notice any significant changes, I'll let you know. But it's 1.7 seconds at the moment between the two at the front, as you can see top left of the screen. Here's the leader then through this stadium section. This corner was modified back in 2004. They used to take a much longer loop. Bike started using it as well earlier on this season. Now we're down towards the chicane. So La Caixa was modified for 2004. This is the rack chicane which was put in here at Barcelona in 2007. And they said, funnily enough, at the time that it was actually increasing the speed into that last corner, although you wouldn't have believed it. Look at this, side by side, all over the place. Further back, is there going to be contact there? There very nearly was. That was very, very tight. Up the inside came Alex Peroni. He's the Australian with Italian heritage, hence the Italian surname in Peroni, and he did well there not to lose his front wing down into that tricky left-hander of turn 5. It's a 1.9 gap then between Schwartzman and Palmer at the front of the field. What's going to happen in the closing stages? 5.5 minutes to go. Aubrey's still in that third place, and I think Finastra should be safe. Look in the background, there is the car with the green front wing. He is 0.8 of a second, which is comfortable, ahead of Max de Forny. Look in the background, you'll see them coming through. There's Finastres, and there is de Forny, and not that far behind him is the 29 of Richard Verschoor. He made a few setup changes earlier on this morning in qualifying. They seem to be working all right, don't they, at the moment, in that 6th place. De Forny towards us then. And I think what's going to be helping Finastres here is that it's actually the Dutchman closing right in now on the Belgian, de Forny, for 5th place. And you can hear still as our cameras pick up various lockups going on into turn 5. Each camera does have a microphone. And as we switch camera, we automatically switch microphone. Back in the olden days, they used to have a sound mixer doing that all separately, but it does allow us these days to pick up the sound on the corner we're on, which might sound obvious, but it does allow you to hear some of those lockups going on elsewhere around in the vicinity. 11 towards us then. That's Finastres, 18 years old from France. Might not be the title of this one, Sasha, but keep your head down, and it may well be tomorrow afternoon. With every race that goes by, even though the championship lead will diminish slightly in this one, Will Palmer is running out of time. But look at the bottom of the screen now. Look at the chunks that Verschoor's been taking out of de Forny over the last few laps. Lap 8 was a significant one there, almost 0.6 of a second. It's just thousandths, but he is critically over the last few laps now. Last 3 was literally thousandths of a second each time, but he's closing right in. And I noticed Finastres there took a look in his left-hand wing mirror. Where are they? How close are they to me as we move into the final few laps of this race? 4 minutes and counting, plus that 1 lap, of course. And this man could be a spoiler in this. 16 years old, Richard Verschoor from Holland, Dutch team as well, which is easy to go up to the workshop for MP Motorsport. There's 3 cars for them in the field, 2 Dutchmen. Opmeer is the other one, and the American driver Neil Verhanen is the other. Look at this, great shot through the chicane. So many different sources as well helping the drivers in this field. You've obviously got the Red Bull Academy, which we've seen hit the dizzy heights of world titles, haven't we, with Sebastian Vettel, who has raced here in the Eurocup before in the last few years. You've even got the Ferrari Driver Academy involved as well. The Russians have their own scheme, Telmex for the Mexicans. And incidentally, actually, Schwartzman, hot off the press, was announced just yesterday as a member of the Ferrari Driver Academy as well now. And he's been very proudly walking around the paddock here with his Ferrari-clad clothing, but what's happened on this particular lap? Because Finastres has lost ground. This could be one last scare here for Sacha Finastres. This is critical championship points. We've got to bear this in mind because Palmer is second. Will he be released into the lead by his teammate? I'm not quite so sure. It's a 2-second gap, but the win is 25. Palmer at the moment is on for 18. We've got a yellow flag waving as well. Something's happened over at turn 7, which is that critical left-hander in front of the house, which used to be known as the, used to actually be the ticket office here, that house at Barcelona. It was here before the circuit was built. Groundbreaking started in 1989. The circuit first hosted Formula 1 in 91. Mansell winning, but only after that wheel-banging session. Sparks flying right here down into turn 1 with Ayrton Senna. And 2 minutes to go, plus that 1 lap. Are we going to see a change? We're quite rightly staying now with Finastres because this is absolutely critical for the championship this year. De Forny is right with him, and look at this. 21 feints to the inside. This is going to be tight. Is there contact? Yes, there almost is contact there. There was contact, in fact. Oh, and then a spin further around the lap as well. That's why the yellow flag was waving over at turn 7. Right round and rejoins up what is quite a steep climb there on the run to Campsa corner. Green flag now, though. Track is clear. It was a lovely little pirouette there, wasn't it? If I can get my words out, up towards Campsa. So, we're into the closing stages. By my reckoning, there's going to be another 2 laps after this one. With 1 minute and 18 seconds to go, we'll cross the line with time left, and then they'll come around one more time when the clock is on 0. That then signifies the last lap of the race. So, Schwartzman now in that Ferrari Driver Academy. I believe there's about 8 of them now in the Ferrari Driver Academy. Watch out for the Russian over the next few years. Now look at this. This is the scrap raging between 43 and 40. That's Logan Sargent, the American, in 8th place. Charles Mileza, he's picked off actually the 23 car of Alexander Vatanyan, the Russian. He's moved up, has Mileza, into 9th place in the last few laps. And this is rookies here. 6th all the way down to 11th. Raul Guzman, the Spaniard. They're all rookies in the field in the Formula Renault 2-litre Eurocup this year. Through the chicane, car 12 is Raul Guzman. Just talking about him, he's in that 11th position, last of the group. What a great scrap this is as we move towards the closing stages. But can Milezi have a go at Sargent for what would be 8th place? Rookie versus rookie. Verhanen comes down towards us, and now are we going to see a change? Is Milezi going to be able to dive through, or is he not? No, he's not. Just not close enough. This is what we were saying earlier on. Catching one thing, passing quite another, particularly here at Barcelona, and especially now in the closing stages as the clock hits 0. The tyres going off, they hit their peak around the 2nd or 3rd lap, and they drop off from that moment onwards. And that's where those who can really look after the tyres come into their own towards the closing stages. This is close though, isn't it? It doesn't get much closer than this. These are wildcard drivers as well for RACE-GP. So a leading team, they've already wrapped up the team's title. Coming into this one, RACE-GP, they're 200 points ahead of Joseph Kaufmann Racing. They won that last time out at Spa. But the wildcards really fighting away there further back in the field for 10th and 11th places. Now, this is good news for the championship leader here. This is good news for Finastres because he's got that fight going on behind him. And it looks as though we might have a change as he weaves, does Verschoor, to the inside line down into La Caixa. I said earlier on that De Forny's a good overtaker. He's going to have to put up some good defence now because we're coming through to start the last lap. The clock's counted down to 0. Cross the line, Will Schwartz in the lead, and we will start the final lap of the race. Schwartzman then about to cross the line, and who's going to get this 4th place? Finastres, there he is. He's confirmed in that 4th place. As long as he continues doing what he's doing now, who's going to get 5th? De Forny right up behind him, the 29. Richard Verschoor, the Dutch rider. There's your leader then on the final lap. Number 10 into the final lap. Robert Schwartzman, the 18-year-old Russian, fresh into the Ferrari Driver Academy, leads at Barcelona. And De Forny, is he going to come under attack here? Yes, he is. This is going to change. This is going to change. It is changing. Has he carried too much speed into the right-hander of turn 1? This is side-by-side stuff between De Forny and the blue car. And going through is Richard Verschoor, number 29. Lovely move from the MP Motorsport Red Bull sponsored driver. 16-year-old Dutchman is ahead, and De Forny will be very annoyed about that indeed. He's held him off for the whole race long. What Verschoor would have been doing there over the last few laps is sizing him up, dives out of the slipstream at the last possible movement, fair, though, you have to say, from De Forny. He gave him racing room, and what he's trying to do now, look, he's taking a wider sweeping line into two. They went side by side, and he was going to try and duck back underneath him into the right-hander of three, but it was brilliantly closed off there by Verschoor, and there was nothing De Forny could do about it. Schwartzman, though, this is going to be an absolutely convincing lights to flag here. Started on pole position for the 6th time this year. He's coming through now. He's just a few corners away from what will be a 10th podium finish and a 5th race victory. Will move in just one behind Sasha Fenestras for race victories this year. Here's the chicane for the last time. It's left, it's right, and it seems only appropriate as he puts the power on through Catalunya curve that he's here with a gold crash helmet, because it is victory in race 1 of the weekend in Barcelona in the Formula Renault Eurocup for car number 10. Well done, Robert Schwartzman. Lights to flag, dominates this one. Will Palmer, his teammate, 3.2 seconds behind, and takes the title fight on to Sunday as Sasha Fenestras finishes 4th, 10.3 seconds behind. But look at the scraps raging right to the line. Who's going to get this one? That's going to be close, and it was just Sargent fending off Malaysia, and right down to Guzman in 10th, who then got ahead therefore of Randall in the closing stages. Well done, Raul Guzman, took the chance, knows the track well here in Catalunya, and moved up into 10th position in the closing stages of the race. But certainly job done there, I think it's fair to say, for RSGP. They've managed to take the title fight into Sunday, as Schwartzman very much does the honours. That was absolutely dominant stuff, wasn't it? I did wonder earlier on whether he might bite back off for Palmer. Now, what's this? What's this? That's going to be a contact. It's going to be very tight if it's not contact. That was 15 and 30, getting a bit close to each other. Axel Matus was up the inside, and on the outside was Opmeer, the Dutch driver, and more shenanigans on the last lap, where we said watch out for some last-minute overtaking. Look, more locking up, and another contact down into the left-hander of Lakaisha. Poor old Junyu Yang there, pushed out wide, the Chinese driver, on the very last lap of the race. Don't know where to watch, do you? Schwartzman it is then who wins from pole position. RSGP did not switch them round, so Palmer picks up the 18 points for second, but he does take the title fight on to Sunday. Well done, Gabriel Aubry. Really good start for Tech 1. Moved up from 4th to 3rd and kept it. And Sasha Fenestras did all he had to do for Joseph Kaufmann Racing. He hasn't quite got the title yet, but he's still in a very strong position moving into the 2nd and 3rd races of the weekend and the final 2 races of the season, incidentally, for 2017. First one coming up at 22:11 local time on Sunday. Further down the order, what about the rookies? Well, it was Verschoor who was the leading rookie, but in terms of their title fights, we were watching out for Yifi Yi, and he was 14th, as you can see. So he's just missed out on the top 10 there, unfortunately. Fastest lap to Schwartzman, so what a dominant performance. It's pole position, race win, and the fastest lap. An absolutely perfect score for Robert Schwartzman. That's that added motivation, isn't it, of having gone into the Ferrari Driver Academy. Some of them not managing to make the finish critically, very critically actually. Max Futrell there, Futrell not making the finish with Tech 1. And that could be rather costly for the Rookies Cup title of 2017. In comes Schwartzman. We'll get a word from him in a moment. I don't really see anything he could possibly complain about there. Lap record pace in qualifying earlier on. Goes on to dominate the race, wins it from his teammate Palmer by 3.2 seconds and sets the fastest lap along the way as well. Well done, Robert Schwartzman. Absolutely controlling the pace here. Not a title contender this year, but you never know. He may well be in 2018. And so many greats have gone before them. I mean, just looking down the list of Formula Renault Eurocup champions, Komui Kobayashi, 2005, just to pick one at random. Valtteri Bottas in 2008. We very much know what he's doing these days. And Lando Norris in 2016. Schwartzman. It's always interesting just to listen into what's being discussed down here in Parc Ferme. It's usually body language which gives away more than the actual words, isn't it? But we will hear from the winner in just a few minutes' time.
Yeah, let's translate that radio message for Cyril. What does he mean?
This is Will Palmer. Joe and Jonathan are here this weekend as well. providing that extra bit of motivation he might need. Don't forget, Palmer can still win this title going into the couple of races tomorrow. There's your winner, though, Schwartzman. What a dominant position. And Gabriel Aubrey then completing the podium. That was a really good race, actually, wasn't it, from the Frenchman? You have to say, he started 4th on the grid. He completed the podium. Ahead of him was this man, Will Palmer, still a championship contender, the only other driver other than Fenastres who could win the championship on Sunday. And here is your winner, Robert Schwartzman. Just watch him. Poetry in motion. Pole position on record pace. Race win by 3.2 seconds and the fastest lap as well. Just looking out of the window, I can see more people, and here are some of them actually, just finding the best vantage points around the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. It's a really good location, actually. We're only about half an hour from the city centre of Barcelona. Let's get a word, though, with our winner. What a dominant performance from Schwartzman.
Is there a better way to celebrate your integration to the Ferrari Driver Academy?
Yeah, it's the best way, basically. I'm really happy. Everything just went really good, especially the qualifying and the free practice. And the pace in race was just awesome. The car felt really great until the last lap, so it was everything just perfect. And yeah, it feels good to be a Ferrari Driver Academy and already win your first ever race with them. So I'm really proud of that. And yeah, massive thanks to Ferrari Driver Academy and S&P Racing for support and for believing me that I can actually win races in the future as well. So yeah, what can I say? Just really, really happy. And let's push next 2 races like that.
Congratulations.
Well, he would be very happy, wouldn't he? Congratulations to our winner. Here's a look then at how this race unfolded. Don't forget, he started off pole position, record pace in qualifying yesterday. Look how he defended the lead. Dirty part of the track as well, all that dust being kicked up. And the championship leader with the green flashes on the front and rear wings. That's Fenastres, giving them plenty of space on the outside. One of the Red Bull cars was very wide indeed, and that could have been an absolute disaster. Managed to hold it. That may well have been Verhagen actually holding it there as we came through turns 1 and 2 for the first time. And look at this for bravery. Right around the outside went Futrell on that first lap, but then he got whacked later on in the lap and was put out of the race with the damaged rear wings. That was very costly indeed for Futrell. Off went another British rider, driver in Daniel Ticknam. Off went Ticknam down at the hairpin of Repsol. All the other drivers managing to avoid him as he rejoins. Look, turn 1. That was that brilliant piece of avoidance we saw from Lewis Leeds, having to slam on the brakes behind Razak, who'd run wide. 360s going on further back in the field as well. And somehow everybody managing to avoid them. This was turn 1 and running wide. This time was Opmeer, the Dutch driver, teammate going through. And then turn 5 was becoming a real passing position, wasn't it? Particularly in the closing stages when people were trying to bag the last few points. But 3.2 seconds in the lead was Robert Schwartzman, the 18-year-old Russian. Weaves his way across the line and dominates race 1 here in Barcelona. Up onto the podium they come then, and there's going to be some rather significant representatives on the podium as well, giving out the prizes here this afternoon, including Jean-Pascal Douce, who is the Renault Sport Racing Customer Racing Director. And the leading rookie up there as well. He was 5th in the overall race, wasn't he? Brilliant performance from Verschoor. He was very close at times to Fenastres, the leader. Well done, Robert Schwartzman. He's been testing Formula 3 car recently and now a member of the Ferrari Driver Academy, so it's not a bad time, is it, in the life of Robert Schwartzman, the Russian driver, the 18-year-old. Here come the prizes. Gabriel Aubrey, car number 4. 8th podium finish of the season for him from 21 very competitive races so far. Will Palmer picks up a very, very important 18 points and 2nd place for what is a 10th podium finish of the season for Will. The 20-year-old, the younger brother of Joe, son of Jonathan. But there's no doubt about his winning teammate today. Robert Schwartzman was on another planet, wasn't he? No championship to have to think about. Went out there convincingly from pole position, set the fastest lap en route. Hey, as the podium backdrop falls down on all of them. That could have been an absolute disaster. We almost wiped out the top 3 all in one go there. That's the only error we've seen all afternoon, isn't it? It just proves that anything really can happen in motor racing. Lightning quick reflexes though. Fighter pilot reflexes there from Will Palmer to notice that was happening. Well done as well to everybody at RACE-GP. Another great win for them, already convincingly the team's champions of 2017. It was already a 200-point advantage even before coming into the day. And there's the leading rookie, Vanastras. The championship leader was 4th, but it's this man, number 29, the 16-year-old Dutchman, Richard Verschoor of MP Motorsport, picking up the trophy for the leading rookie. And all of the full-time rookies fighting away for a title of their own as we move into the final 2 races here in Barcelona on Sunday afternoon. Set your watches then as the customary photograph takes place. It is now just coming up to 1:15 in the afternoon here in Catalonia. Race 2 of the weekend tomorrow at 11:20. Race 3 at 4 o'clock local time. And now it's the champagne shower. After a dominant performance here from Schwartzman, the Russian, he wins race 1 in Barcelona for the Formula Renault Eurocup, but the championship fight between Vanastras and Palmer goes on to Sunday.